Yo, hey, this shit easy, nigga. Hey, all I'm talking about, nigga, I'm still out here trying to get it.
Contender Regime Boxing checking back in with y'all, man. What's good? So Keyshawn Davis successful in his first major headlining event in his hometown, Norfolk, Virginia, sold over 10,000 tickets. Fought Gustavo Lemos, a guy who was super competitive in a previous fight versus Richardson Hitchens at 140. Came down to 135 for this fight for Keyshawn, but he didn't actually come down to 135 because he weighed in 6 pounds over the weight limit. So, this guy purposely missed weight to gain a competitive advantage and was not able to put that to use versus Keyshawn, as Keyshawn was just simply too sharp, too powerful, too strong, too intelligent, right? Keyshawn dropped the man twice, stopped him in the second round. It was a beautiful performance. Keyshawn just continues to get better and better every time I see him. You really see Terrence Crawford's, I want to say, style and fingerprints shining through when Keyshawn fights. You can see the tutelage from Crawford and from Bomac. The way Keyshawn Davis follow throughs with his punches, it reminds me of Terrence Crawford. And in no way, shape, or form am I saying that this guy is Terrence Crawford or anything close to him. Just as far as what meets the eye in terms of his style and the things that he does in the ring, you can see that this guy either was coached by Terrence Crawford or coached by the motherfucker that coached Terrence Crawford. You can see that. And I just love the way that Keyshawn continues to, add small things to his game and just sharpen up and just get better and better. This guy's extremely experienced, a two-time silver medalist, did something unprecedented that you don't normally see, where he, won a silver medal in the Olympics, turned pro, and then was allowed to go back after turning pro and compete in the Olympics again and medaled again, right? With that being said, Keyshawn Davis is slowly but surely positioning himself to become a world champion at 135 pounds. Now, he's putting himself in position. It looks like he is like top 3 in multiple sanctioning bodies, and it looks like he's gonna go for that title that Ivan Baranchyk holds, which I think that's gonna be a good match for Keyshawn. Just the style of Baranchyk, and Baranchyk is a tough guy. He's a champion. I think that's a good fight to get up under your belt, and I think it's a nice first title shot for Keyshawn Davis, and it's a very winnable fight. He will be the favorite in that fight, of course, just based off of the film, the talent, the skill level. Keyshawn Davis would be expected to possibly stop Baranchyk. You dig what I'm saying? Keyshawn Davis, he is calling out Gervonta Tank Davis. He wants to smoke with Tank Davis. He's loud and clear about it, and I like that. I like the fact that he not pussyfooting around the idea of fighting Tank Davis. He not being hella respectful when Tank Davis' name get brought up in interviews when they ask him about him. Or, he'll even come out and openly talk about Tank Davis and wanting to fight him. And he called him out immediately after his fight versus Gustavo Lemos, which I thought was a good move. You let the fans know that you want this fight, which, and the idea of that would be to force Tank Davis's hand, but we already know that Tank Davis is a very selective fighter when it comes to who he fights. Very picky guy. You know what I'm saying? You almost have to fit a certain criteria to get an opportunity to fight Tank Davis. Tank Davis's fans, very picky guys. You know what I'm saying? I'm a Tank Davis fan, but there's different levels of fandom. You feel what I'm saying? These guys are very picky. You know what I'm saying? The people that I'm referring to, I call them the TPT. You know what I'm saying? The Tank Protection Team. Because it seemed like anytime somebody called out Tank Davis, anybody that might be somewhat of a threat, they start talking about, man, he ain't ready. He ain't deserve to fight. Then they start talking about how many pay-per-views you sold, how much money you got, what type of clothes you wear. They start talking about all this shit instead of, like, asking or pushing for their fighter to give us a good fight. You dig what I'm saying? But Keyshawn Davis, makes no mistake about it. He calls out Tank Davis, and he is progressively, showing the fan. He's actively showing the fans that this is the fight that he wants. And I think it'll be a really good fight, man. I think Keyshawn Davis brings a lot to the table in terms of skill set and style paired with Tank Davis's skill set and style. You look at the fact that he's going to have longer reach, and that ain't nothing new for Tank Davis. But here's a guy who has these physical dimensions, the size factor when it comes to fighting Tank Davis, but also has the skill set, the IQ, and then the coaching behind it. I think a lot of what Keyshawn Davis does will match up perfectly versus Tank Davis. Now, Tank Davis is still, in my opinion, people can have their arguments and debates about this shit, but I think Tank Davis can beat anybody from 130, anybody from 140 all the way down. You feel me? I think Tank Davis has a skill set to beat any of these guys, and I think he can beat a lot of guys at 147 too. You put him in there with the right guy at 147, Tank Davis can get him up out of there. You dig what I'm saying? But I like how Keyshawn Davis throws in between shots. That's going to be big versus Tank, because Tank got a really good high guard, and he also showed you he could take punches too. But Keyshawn, just like Terrence Crawford, has the ability to throw in between your shots. He has really good counter ability, and he's getting quicker and sharper with those counters as well. You're going to have to counter a guy like Tank. You're going to have to throw in between Tank shots. And he can stand his ground. He's physically strong. He'll be able to get his offense off. And his defense, it ain't perfect. Nobody's defense is perfect. And at some point, Tank going to touch him, and we'll see, can he take those shots? That's the unknown. Can you take a shot from a guy like Tank? 99% of people can't. You feel what I'm saying? But I think Keyshawn will be able to get some shit off and possibly make Tank respect him, and dare I say, hurt Tank Davis. Of course, that's yet to be seen. We got to see that. You feel me? So I think Keyshawn Davis bring a lot to the table that could give Tank Davis a challenge and maybe bring something out of Tank that we haven't seen before. I think in that fight, you'll see a more of a middle of the ring type of fight, because I don't see Keyshawn moving back and trying to evade the whole fight. He gonna stand his ground, and he gonna try to make Tank miss and make him pay. You gonna see Keyshawn be first as well, and then you go see Tank Davis having to come forward, of course, to get his shit off. But I think that fight will be fought in the middle of the ring, and I don't see that fight going 12, because both guys are gonna be throwing punches with bad intentions. They both gonna be trying to counter off of the other person's mistake, and we know what Tank Davis's counter game is damn near flawless, because he's pound for pound one of the fastest fighters in the sport and one of the most powerful fighters in the sport. You feel me? So with one punch, I think Tank Davis is faster than anybody. So you make one mistake and you miss, all it takes is for one shot, and Tank Davis can end the whole night. You feel me? So that fight, it really intrigues me. And I think, of course, Tank Davis, him being the A side, nobody can force his hand. He gonna send a contract whenever he want to send a contract. He sent contracts to guys like Lamont Roach, Rolly Romero, Hector Garcia, Mario Barrios, a dude that was in a whole nother weight class for no reason. You know what I'm saying? But it's certain guys that when it comes to, like a Shakur Stevenson, a Devin Haney, Keyshawn Davis, or Teofimo Lopez, when it comes to guys, Lomachenko for a long time, when it comes to guys like that, it's always hesitations from that team. Like you start to hear Kenny Ellis and Coach Calvin Ford, you ask them questions about these guys, they get Leonard Ellaby, they get to talking about pay-per-view numbers, and they won't let us do what we do, and you know what I'm saying? And then you get the fans start denouncing fights, and they start tearing down the idea of any of these potential matchups. Any fighter that could be a possible threat to Tank Davis, they just shoot it down. They say either he not ready or he ain't done enough to deserve a fight. But then you look at a guy like Rolly Romero, who is a Make-A-Wish kid. You feel what I'm saying? A Make-A-Wish kid that they just put boxing gloves on him because he had one last wish, and the dude just turned out. He started knocking motherfuckers out, and they like, shit, we can make some money off of him. You feel me? And this dude fought Tank Davis. So you can't tell me that a two-time Olympic medalist who is coached by Bomac, a future Hall of Fame trainer, you feel what I'm saying? Who is the protege of Terrence Bud Crawford, one of his proteges. You feel what I'm saying? Who has the pedigree, who obviously has the skill on film, the talent and the ability, and he has the energy, the confidence. That's another thing. You don't see a lot of guys that Tank Davis fight that actually believe that they can win, who actually have the confidence, who mentally on that psychopathic level of thinking, I can whoop this motherfucker. You don't. How many guys you seen Tank Davis fight like that really believe they can win? Ryan Garcia had that shit. He believed that he can win, but at the same time, Ryan Garcia don't have the skill set of a Keyshawn Davis. Powerful and fast left hook for sure, but he don't have all that other shit that Keyshawn Davis have. Feel what I'm saying? Keyshawn Davis got way more than just one punch. He could throw every punch. It's a great fight. I think it's a great fight, and it intrigues me. And as a boxing fan, I'm going to push for it. I know Tank Davis is fighting Lamont Roach next. That's cool. Do your thing. And Keyshawn, go get you a belt. I will say this. Keyshawn, become a champion. Put yourself now. We know Tank Davis ain't the type of fighter that's chasing legacy like that and going after titles. So I can't even sit up here and say, well, get you a title that's going to put your name in a hat. Not necessarily. Not when it comes to Tank Davis. It's something that they got to see in you to offer you a fight. And it ain't titles. And I don't know what it is. You feel me? But I think a title does help his chances. It makes you more known. It gets your name out there more. Or it doesn't hurt. You feel me? So I think go get that title from Baranicek. And then if you do possibly get an opportunity to fight Tank Davis, it'll be a unification. You know what I mean? You'll bring at least something to the table outside of just being a threat. So y'all let me know what y'all think down in the comments, man. How y'all feel about a potential fight between Tank Davis and Keyshawn Davis? Do y'all think that he's ready? Do you think that is that a fight that you even want to see? Stylistically, how do you see that fight playing out? And just on the surface, we far away from that fight being a realistic thing because Tank gonna have to come out and say he want that fight and actually be proactive in making it. But y'all let me know what y'all think down in the comments, man. Contender Regime Boxing. I'll holler at y'all boys, man.